It's week 2 of an Untroubled Heart. How are you doing? I know how most of you are doing because of the comments that you have left on Monday's post in our memory verse that says, "Cast all your cares on Him because He cares for you." Most of you have responded like this: "Wow, Micah, it's so hard to trust God, to just take that first step. How do I do that?" And some of you have said, it's easy giving God my cares, but then I always take them back. Or some of you have talked about how hard it is to wait on God, to work in your fear, to work in your situation. And so you end up taking it back and trying to fix it yourselves. Well, boy, can I relate. I think we all can. I think we've all been in this place, and we want to move past it. Well, when my husband died at a very young age, it created a great fear in me for my son. I thought that since his dad died young, that maybe he would die young too. And so this created in me a fear-driven parent. And I'll never forget when my son first learned to drive. Boy, I had many rules, and I was really strict that he was supposed to call me whenever he got to where he was going. He was to call before he left to come home, and if he was going to be late, then he most definitely had to call me, or else I would imagine everything bad that could go wrong, right? And so I remember the first time that he was late coming home and he didn't call me, and I was in that state of mind. I was just overcome with fear, imagining everything possible, just knew he was dead. So when he walked in that door, he met a crazy woman. And I know he met a crazy woman because the look on his face was just terror. He was thinking, who is this woman and what has she done with my mother? But you see, I let my fear just spill out all over him. But I was under this illusion of control. I felt like if I put all these rules on him and I had him call me, that I in some way was protecting my son. Have you been there? I think we all have. And you see, that kind of takes us back to the garden. It's really the main problem that we have. You see, when they ate of the fruit, it says that they became like God, knowing good and bad. And you see, all of a sudden, we are now like God, trying to fix our own problems. And now, because we know that something bad could happen, well, we're always trying to control our lives, our situations, our fears, our loved ones. And that's really a mess of things, right? Because I know that when I try to fix my own problems, I'm really going to make a bigger mess of it than they really already are. But you see, the reason I and you and I have this need to control, to be like God, in control of our circumstances, is because we're really trying to avoid pain. You see, I know that pain of losing a loved one. I know what it felt like to be just kicked in the stomach, where all the breath was just knocked out of me and I felt like I couldn't go on for a very, very long time. And I didn't want to face that pain again. And so I somehow tried to be in control of my son's safety for fear of experiencing the loss of a loved one again. And so you and I will go to great lengths to avoid feeling this pain. And so when God's not working fast enough, or we're having trouble trusting Him, and our hearts are pounding, we just naturally, it's our nature to go back and take control of the situation. And so for me and for you, what we've got to do is we've got to come to this place where we admit, where we recognize and acknowledge that we're not God. And we were never meant to be God. We were never meant to care for ourselves. Yes, God gives us responsibilities in our life and in the world, but We were never meant to be in control. Only God can be in control. Only God can sufficiently take care of you and me. And so that brings us to um, back to our key verse. And that's what I want to talk about. So how do we do that? How do we let go of that control and trust God? Well, we cast our cares on Him. And that word cast in this verse has the same meaning as in Luke 19:35. And I want to read that to you. It says, they brought it to Jesus, and casting their garments on the colt, they set Jesus upon it. Now, think about this. If you were wearing a coat, a garment, and you took it off and you placed it on an animal because you're hot, you no longer want to carry it, well, now the animal is carrying your coat. You are no longer carrying it. You are released of carrying that coat. The animal is now working to lift your load. He has lightened your load. And that's the same way it works with God. That's why God says, come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. When we cast our cares onto God, we are no longer carrying them. God is carrying them, and God wants to carry them and release us of our burdens. And so when we cast our cares on God, it also comes with a promise. It says, because He cares for us. We can cast those cares because He cares for us. Now think about it this way. When you have a problem or a burden in your life, who do you call? Ghostbusters. No, we don't call Ghostbusters, but we call a girlfriend. We call our mom. We call someone that we know cares about us, who's going to comfort us, who's going to guide us in a healthy way. Well, God's saying, I'm that friend. I'm that friend. You can cast your cares on me because I care for you. And see, a lot of times we want to take it back quickly because God doesn't always work the way we think He should work or how we would solve the problem. But God sees so many different connections in our lives. And I guarantee you, He is not only lightening your load, but He is working in your situation for your good. And so will you, with me today, come to a place where you can just admit and say, I'm not God. I am not in control. But boy, do I need God to be in control. And if you can say that, then the next step is very practical. It's just to trust Him. Just to trust Him with today one specific care, one specific burden, and give that to Him. And some of you are still going, but it's hard to do. Well, it's just doing it. There's something magical when we just trust God and say, God, this is yours. I'm trusting you to take care of it. And you know what we get in return? We get sweet peace. Sweet peace. And our faith strengthens every time we trust God and we see that He is faithful. So I wish you today peace. And I wish that you would join me. I challenge you to join me to say, not God, not in control. When I try to be, it's just going to make a mess of it. Today, I'm trusting you with my fear, Lord. And then let me know how He responds. It's going to be great. See you next week.